So, good morning and hello everyone. Welcome to Power Talk. We have with us a young author, Kritika Arya. Kritika, at the age of 33, has written her autobiography, Citizen by Descent. So, thank you, Kritika, for accepting our invite.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Kritika was born in Sharjah and she grew up in Satwa and now lives in India. She was educated in the UK and she attended the Dubai Gym private school. Citizen by Descent, her book, is a collection of autobiographical essays dealing with the themes of home, identity, mental health, and the unique experience of growing up as a third culture kid. She had a nomadic existence. She lived in 9 homes in 3 countries and led to her search for her identity and her roots. So, and in her book, she's bared her soul with candid revelations about several aspects of her life, including her struggles with anxiety, her gut health issues, binge drinking, her relationship issues, her phobia of lizards, and finally going back to live with her retired parents in India. This book is beautifully illustrated by several international artists and addresses one of the most important questions of the diaspora: where do I belong? So welcome. And so you grew up in Dubai in the 90s. So give us a glimpse of how life was back then.
The 90s, Dubai has changed. So every time I come back, every time I visit, it's changed. But in the 90s, it was just such a small knit community. Like I lived in a villa, Fikri Villas, I remember this very clearly. And we lived in Satwa, down the road from Al Mala, which is my favorite place to eat still. And we knew all our neighbors knew us. I had a neighbor who was from Goa, she was Catholic, and every Christmas, like 3 weeks before, I was her little elf. My sister and I would go to her house. We would decorate the tree. We would bake cookies. We were her assistants on the day of Christmas. And then my other neighbor, was from Pakistan, and every Eid, Iftar, like throughout Ramadan, I was always there. So we just experienced so much. And then they would come over to our house for Diwali. And I feel like that's just how you beautifully sum up the city, is that I got to experience so many things that I know a lot of people that I meet just don't have the luxury to like celebrate so many things and be so worldly. So it was just a really lovely time.
And when did you realize that you have an identity crisis, that you didn't look like an Indian and nor did you sound like an Arab?
I think there were like little hints of it as I was growing up. You know, every time I would go to India, I was still in that little bubble of like meeting my cousins and things like that. But you know, there's just the little hints like at immigration counters when they ask you, like, what are you doing here? And why are you here? How long are you here for? And then I think it truly hit me when I was at university. I was 19 years old when I first left the UAE properly. And I think it was when the first person asked me, because I went to the University of York, and I think it was when the first person asked me, like, where are you from? And it was just one of those things where I started like having to give this whole paragraph of like, so I'm from Dubai, I was born here, but my parents are from here, but my passport is this. Like, it's never simple when you have to explain it. And then they're like, okay, but why do you sound like that? And I was like, oh, I feel like I never noticed it, right? But I think it came from television shows, it came from the people I was around, and you just kind of pick up on a lot of things, and you're kind of like a sponge, I feel, as a third culture kid. So I think I was also running away from my Indian identity because I was the only Indian person.
So what led you to write an autobiography at such a young age?
I feel like the moment someone says autobiography, I panic. I'm like, yeah, who am I to write an autobiography at 33? But I think it is certain aspects of my childhood and my adolescence, and I have picked moments, and it is a very specific aspect of my growing up, which is about home, more than anything else. And it was a happy accident during the pandemic. The world shut down. I wasn't able to get a job. I was a writer in Bollywood. I was struggling to like find my footing. And then everything stopped. And for the first time, I started writing for myself. And it was just one piece that I was writing. It came from a therapy session. She kind of suggested that, you know, why do you choose to live in a toxic bubble? Like, why are all these negative thoughts there? And my mind just held on to that idea, and I wrote this piece about my mind being this toxic bubble. But I structured it like it was an apartment, and I give you a tour of my mind, but as if it's a place that I furnished. And and then it just started carrying on from there. And I always knew it needed to be illustrated. It I couldn't see it anywhere else where it had to have words and it had to have these beautiful visuals. So I think because it was so specific, I don't personally see it as a full blown memoir because I think I chose to keep so many things to myself still. But I think taking it step by step is what led me to write it in the first place. So it's not that much pressure, but it just happened.
But you did do that, So
I did do that, but with a lot of support. Like I have a team of 16 people, like from my editor, my sister, she's a graphic designer and illustrator. I reached out to 11 illustrators from around the world. So every single person like pushed me in some way. And I was just so inspired by their talent that it helped me put it in the book as well.
And did you want to show certain aspects of your life? Were you sure about what you wanted to write about?
Yes, absolutely. I think because I have the structure. So, for example, my childhood essay takes place in my villa that grew up in, but it takes place specifically in the corridor, and all the stories go in and out of that space. So there are three layers to each essay. One is the physical aspect, which is the actual space that I describe, from the little details, the things that we had on our walls, and all of that. Then there's the second layer, which is the intellectual layer, which is all my memories that take place. And then there's the emotional, which is all how the physical and the intellectual affected my anxiety or my mental health at that space. So having those things as those aspects in each essay really helped me to like narrow down what I was talking about, because it was very specific to like what part of my anxiety am I trying to get out in this essay. When it was my phobia essay, it was very much to do with the panic attacks and not wanting to live in that house anymore and just feeling this existential dread all the time. Like, how will I ever survive being afraid of lizards in India? Like, it's just not a thing.
It's a real thing.
It's not a thing that you can actually do. Like they will be there. So it was very specific. And I also wanted to protect the people around me. I didn't want to just share their stuff. It had to be very much my point of view, how it affected me, because it's not my story to tell their story.
Yes, true.
It's not my right. So yeah.
So you took the self-publishing route. So tell us about that, and what are the challenges a young author faces?
Oh, so many challenges. I chose to self-publish. I did reach out to publishers, but because I'm a debut author, that was strike one against me. Strike two was being a third culture kid. Strike three was the fact that it was illustrated. Because it was in full color, they were like, it's too expensive to print. We cannot take a risk on you. One or two publishers said yes, but they were like, we want to print the illustrations in black and white. And that's when I was like, you can change the writing, you cannot change the illustrations. Like for me, that was a non-negotiable. So after a lot of time, like again, it was step by step. Like over the years, I was reaching out to publishers, and then I finally decided that, you know what, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to put myself out there. I feel like the story needs to be told. These illustrations need to be seen. It's like having a little art gallery in your home, I feel. And I just felt like I never read that many stories of third culture children. Like I didn't see that. I never saw myself in the TV shows I was watching or the books I was reading, or, it was always like either you're Indian American or Indian British, but it was never like, oh, this person who's just got the Indian passport but lives somewhere else. So I just didn't see that. So I just wanted to put something where maybe someone like me might relate. But that doesn't mean that people don't relate to it, even if they don't have the same third culture experience, because there's so many universal topics of mental health. And I've come to realize that everyone is just looking to belong.
That you've written your autobiography, what are the learnings from it? What are the takeaways?
So there are lots of practical learnings because I did everything from writing, printing, collaborating, marketing, distribution. I'm still learning a lot in the marketing department. I think that's one of the hardest things as a writer. So I think I'm still learning in that aspect of it. In terms of writing and just even putting myself out there, I think I've realized that people do relate to this. Like everyone, like my father's friends, they're like 75 years old, have born and brought up in India. They bought it. I thought they were buying it just to support me, but they actually read it and they got something from it. And they were like, wow, I never knew or I never understood. And that was so fascinating. I always thought I'd just be reaching out to like teenagers or people my age, but it was just so amazing to see like people from their generation being like, oh, I get it. I understand a part of mental health now, or so I think it was really nice to like put myself out there in that way. I think for the next book I definitely wouldn't do it this extensively. I would want to maybe have a bit more help in that department, but yeah, I just feel like I've learned so much in every aspect, business wise too.
Okay.
So yeah.
Wow, great.
Yeah.
So at the end of your book, you write, a sense of belonging is not found but made. What did you mean by that?
So I think there are many individuals out there who have found their sense of belonging. I think it comes naturally. I think for me personally, I can only speak for myself again. I think I always wanted to hold on to things. As I said earlier, I was holding on to friendships, relationships, things. I just didn't like change. I never wanted anything to change in my life. I was like, this is how things need to be, and everything will be amazing. And as time went on, I'm like, this will be my forever home, and it wasn't. This will be my forever job, and it wasn't. As a writer, you can never have a forever job, but in my head, I was like, I just don't want anything to change. And as time went on, and you just experience more, you kind of realize that you cannot hold on to things. And so I've started letting go of that need for control. And I've started realizing that, even if for one moment I have felt joy or that sense of like, okay, this is nice. I trust myself now to be able to create that or find that sense of belonging in different places. So I'm not scared anymore to like go to a new place or be somewhere, or I feel like I'll make it my own.
Great and amazing. So thank you so much, Kritika, for
Thank
taking
you
out
so
time
much.
and coming here. We loved listening to you, and all the best to you.
Thank you.